The alpha's hand closed around her throat in front of the entire pack. Not in passion. Not in protection. In rejection. She couldn't breathe, couldn't speak, couldn't do anything but stare into those golden eyes that had once looked at her with something close to tenderness. Now they held only disgust. "You are not my mate," he said, his voice carrying across the ceremonial grounds where 300 wolves had gathered to witness what should have been a bonding. "You are human. Weak. Worthless." The mate bond burned in her chest like a brand, screaming that he was lying, that the connection between them was real and absolute. But he was the alpha. His word was law. He released her throat and she fell to her knees on the stone platform, gasping for air while the pack watched in absolute silence. No one moved to help her. No one dared. "The moon goddess does not pair alphas with humans," he continued, turning to address the crowd. This was a mistake. A false bond. Perhaps a curse. She wanted to scream that she'd felt the bond snap into place the moment their eyes met 3 months ago. That her wolf had recognized his, even though she'd never shifted, never shown any sign of the transformation. She'd believed him when he said it didn't matter, that some wolves were late bloomers, that their bond proved she belonged. She'd been a fool. "Leave this territory," the alpha said, not even looking at her anymore. "If you're found here after sunset, you'll be killed as a trespasser." He walked away, his beater and enforcers following. The pack dispersed like smoke, none of them meeting her eyes. She'd lived among them for 3 months, worked in their kitchens, learned their customs, believed she'd found home. Now she knelt alone on the ceremonial stone, the mate bond still burning in her chest, and felt something else beneath it. Something old and furious, stirring in her blood like a beast waking from a very long sleep. She didn't know what it was. But she would. The Silvercrest pack had ruled the Northern Territories for 2 centuries, their bloodline strong, their laws absolute. They didn't accept weakness. They didn't tolerate outsiders. And they certainly didn't bond with humans. She had been found at their borders 6 months ago, half dead from exposure, with no memory of how she'd gotten there. The pack healer had saved her life. The alpha had given her sanctuary. She'd worked hard, kept quiet, tried to earn her place. Then the bond had snapped into place during a full moon ceremony, visible to everyone. The golden thread connecting her soul to the alpha's, undeniable proof of a mate bond blessed by the moon goddess herself. The pack had celebrated. The alpha had seemed pleased, if surprised. For 3 months, she'd believed in the impossible, that a human could belong in a world of wolves. She'd been wrong about being human. The Silvercrest pack operated on ancient laws. Bloodline determined rank. Strength determined respect. The alpha's mate must be powerful enough to lead beside him, to bear strong heirs, to command the pack's loyalty. A human mate was worse than an insult. It was a threat to everything they'd built. So when her 21st birthday came and went without a transformation, when the full moon rose and fell and she remained frustratingly, completely human, the alpha had made his choice. Political stability over a mate bond. Power over love. The pack over her. What he didn't know, what she didn't know, was that her blood carried a legacy that predated his pack by 1,000 years. That the reason she hadn't shifted wasn't weakness, but a dormancy that required specific conditions to break. That those conditions included betrayal, abandonment, and the very real threat of death. As the sun set on the day of her rejection, she walked into the forest beyond Packlands with nothing but the clothes on her back and a rage in her chest that felt like it could burn the world down. Ahead of her, destiny waited with teeth. The first 3 days, she just tried to survive. The forest beyond Silvercrest territory was supposed to be neutral ground, but neutral didn't mean safe. Rogue wolves hunted here. Wild animals that had never learned to fear predators. She had no weapons, no training, no way to defend herself beyond running and hiding. The mate bond made it worse. Every step away from Packlands felt like walking through broken glass, the connection between them pulling taut and sharp. She could feel him sometimes, distant and cold, deliberately dampening his side of the bond to nothing. It hurt more than the hunger. More than the cold. On the 4th day, she found a cave and collapsed inside, too exhausted to go farther. Her feet were bleeding. Her clothes were torn. She hadn't eaten since the rejection, hadn't slept except in brief, terrified intervals. She should have died there. Instead, she dreamed. In the dream, a woman stood before her, tall and regal, with silver hair that moved like moonlight and eyes that burned with ancient power. She wore armor made of starlight and shadow, and when she spoke, her voice resonated in frequencies that shouldn't exist. "You are not human, child. You never were." She tried to speak, to ask what that meant, but the dream woman raised a hand. "Your blood is older than these forests. Older than the packs that think themselves mighty. You are the last daughter of the moon's first children, and you have been asleep too long." The woman touched her forehead, and pain exploded through her skull. She screamed, or tried to, but the sound came out as something else. Something inhuman. "Wake up," the woman commanded. "Wake up and remember what you are." She woke gasping, alone in the cave, with the taste of blood in her mouth and a burning sensation crawling beneath her skin like fire ants. Her body convulsed. She tried to scream but her jaw cracked, elongated, reformed. Every bone in her body broke and reset. Her spine curved and extended. Her fingers became claws, her skin erupted in fur the color of fresh snow. The pain was so absolute that her mind simply shut down, unable to process it. When consciousness returned, she was no longer human. She was a wolf, larger than any she'd seen in the Silvercrest pack, with fur that gleamed silver-white in the darkness and eyes that glowed with an inner light. And she was starving. She learned to hunt by instinct. The wolf knew things her human mind didn't. How to track prey by scent, how to move silently through underbrush, how to kill quickly and efficiently. She brought down a deer on her second night in wolf form and ate until the gnawing hunger finally subsided. The transformation back to human was easier than the first shift, but not by much. She woke naked and freezing in a clearing, the taste of raw meat still in her mouth, and understood that everything she'd believed about herself had been a lie. She wasn't human. She'd never been human. She was something else. Something the dream woman had called a moon's daughter, whatever that meant. Over the next 2 weeks, she learned to control the shift. It got easier each time, the pain lessening to a manageable ache, the transition faster. Her wolf was powerful, larger, and stronger than seemed natural. When she looked at her reflection in a stream, her eyes glowed silver even in human form. She found an abandoned hunter's cabin and claimed it as shelter. Inside, she discovered old books, supplies, and most importantly, clothes that almost fit. She taught herself to start fires, to preserve meat, to survive. But survival wasn't enough. The mate bond still burned, a constant reminder of what had been done to her. She could feel the alpha sometimes, distant flashes of emotion. Satisfaction. Relief. Not a single moment of regret. He thought he'd rid himself of a problem. He thought she was gone, probably dead, certainly no longer his concern. He had no idea what he'd awakened. One night, she shifted and ran north, following instinct more than conscious thought. The wolf knew where to go, driven by something ancient and undeniable. She ran for hours, her powerful body eating up miles without tiring. She found them just before dawn. A pack, but not like Silvercrest. These wolves were different. Larger, older, with eyes that held depths of knowledge that made her shiver. They watched her approach without fear or hostility, simply waiting. An elderly female stepped forward, her fur grizzled with age, her eyes the same silver as the woman from her dream. The wolf shifted into human form, standing naked and unashamed before her. "We've been waiting," the elder said. "Welcome home, daughter of the first moon." They called themselves the Lunar Court, and they were nothing like the Silvercrest pack. There were only 20 of them, but each radiated power that made her skin prickle with awareness. They didn't operate on the same hierarchy, didn't follow the same laws. They were scholars, warriors, keepers of knowledge that predated written language. And they knew exactly what she was. "Your bloodline was thought extinct," the elder explained, leading her through a village hidden so deep in the mountains that no map would ever show it. The royal line of the first wolves, blessed directly by the moon goddess before the fracturing. She listened, trying to absorb information that rewrote everything she understood about the world. Centuries ago, the wolf clans split. Some sought power through territory and dominance. They became the packs you know today. Others sought wisdom, magic, connection to the old ways. We maintained the lunar court. The elder brought her to a building made of ancient stone, its walls carved with symbols that seemed to shift in the firelight. Your ancestors ruled before the split. Moon-blessed, capable of magic the modern packs have forgotten. But they were hunted, killed for their power. We thought the line ended 300 years ago. Then how am I here? She asked, her voice rough from disuse. Your mother must have hidden you. Suppressed your wolf, your magic, everything that would mark you as royal blood. It's the only way you could have survived this long without being found. The elder's eyes held ancient sadness. But suppression has limits. When your mate bond formed, when you experienced that level of emotional and spiritual connection, it began breaking down the barriers. The rejection completed it. She thought about the alpha's hand on her throat, his cold dismissal, the way he'd looked at her like she was nothing. He triggered my awakening. Yes. Pain, betrayal, the severing of a mate bond, these are powerful catalysts. Your true nature couldn't remain dormant through that. Rage bloomed in her chest, hot and vicious. Good. The elder smiled. You want revenge. It wasn't a question. I want him to know what he rejected. I want his pack to see what they threw away. She stopped, the words catching in her throat. You want him to regret it, the elder finished gently. To understand the magnitude of his mistake. To suffer as you suffered. Yes. Then we will teach you everything you were meant to know. Everything your bloodline can do. And when you're ready, the elder's smile turned sharp. You'll return to Silvercrest and show them what a true moon daughter can accomplish. The training was brutal. They taught her combat first, how to fight in both forms, how to use her size and strength to maximum advantage. The Lunar Court warriors were merciless, pushing her beyond what she thought were her limits, then pushing further. She broke bones that healed overnight. Tore muscles that regenerated stronger. Learned to move like water and strike like lightning. But physical training was only the beginning. Your bloodline carries gifts the modern packs have lost, a teacher explained. A stern woman whose wolf form was black as midnight. Magic tied directly to the moon's phases. You need to relearn what was suppressed. They taught her to sense other wolves from miles away, to read their emotional states through the subtle shifts in their scent. She learned to project authority, to make her presence felt in a way that had nothing to do with physical dominance and everything to do with the ancient power in her blood. She learned to heal wounds with moonlight, to strengthen other wolves with her presence, to command respect from any wolf who understood what she was. And she learned the truth about mate bonds. The bond you feel is real, the elder told her one night, under a full moon that made her skin glow silver. Mate bonds cannot be faked or forced. The alpha is your true mate. The revelation hurt worse than she expected. But, the elder continued, he can reject it. He can deny it, suppress it, pretend it doesn't exist. It will hurt him, damage him spiritually, but alphas are taught that power matters more than bonds. Can I reject it? Sever it completely? The elder studied her for a long moment. You could. But it would cost you. Rejecting a true mate bond requires sacrifice either of your power or your capacity to bond with another. Most choose to let it remain, dormant and painful, rather than lose what makes them whole. She thought about the alpha, about the cold calculation in his eyes when he'd thrown her away. What happens to him if I grow stronger while the bond remains rejected? The elder's smile was knowing. The bond works both ways. As you grow in power, as you come into your full potential, he'll feel it. A constant reminder of what he threw away. It will eat at him, make him question everything, weaken his authority. Good, she said again. 3 months passed. Then 6. She trained until her body was a weapon and her mind was steel. She learned the history of her bloodline, the names of ancestors who had ruled with wisdom and strength. She discovered that she could call moonlight itself, bend it to her will, use it to illuminate truth or blind enemies. She became something the modern packs had forgotten was possible. And when the year anniversary of her rejection came, the elder called her to the ceremonial grounds. You're ready, she said simply. Return to Silvercrest. Show them what they rejected. She looked at the elder, this woman who had given her everything: knowledge, training, purpose. What if he tries to claim the bond again? Once he knows what I am? The elder's expression was fierce. Then you remind him that rejection is a choice he made. And choices have consequences. She crossed back into Silvercrest territory on a moonless night. No one detected her. The guards who should have noticed an intruder were focused outward, never imagining a threat could come from someone who'd been exiled. She moved like smoke through the forest, her control absolute. The packlands looked the same. The same training grounds, the same communal buildings, the same hierarchical arrangements that had made her feel so small. Now they just looked pathetic. She could sense every wolf in a half-mile radius, read their positions, their emotional states, their relative strength. The Silvercrest pack was powerful by modern standards, but compared to what she'd learned, what she'd become, they were children playing at dominance. She found her target exactly where she expected, in the Alpha's private training ground, working through combat forms in the pre-dawn darkness. She'd forgotten how physically imposing he was. Tall, heavily muscled, moving with the lethal grace of a born predator. His wolf was close to the surface, golden eyes gleaming in the darkness. For just a moment, the mate bond flared, recognizing him. Her wolf stirred, wanting to approach, to claim what was theirs. She crushed the impulse ruthlessly. She stepped out of the shadows. He froze, going completely still in the way predators do when they sense something wrong. His head turned slowly, eyes widening as he took her in. She'd changed. The year had transformed her from the uncertain girl he'd rejected into something powerful and terrifying. She wore simple black clothes that emphasized her athletic build, her silver eyes glowing faintly in the darkness, her presence radiating authority that made him take an involuntary step back. "You," he breathed. "Me," she agreed, her voice calm and cold. He stared at her like she was a ghost. "You're alive." His nostrils flared, scenting her, and shock rippled across his features. "You're a wolf. A powerful wolf." "How?" "Did you think I'd die in the forest?" she asked conversationally. "Is that what you hoped? That your rejected mate would simply disappear, saving you the inconvenience of having killed me yourself?" "I didn't," he stopped, jaw tightening. "You were human. The bond was impossible." "No," she corrected, taking a step forward. He matched it with a step back, and she smiled at the small victory. "I was dormant. There's a difference." She let her power rise, just a fraction of what she could do. The air around her shimmered with moonlight that shouldn't exist on a moonless night. His eyes went wide. "What are you?" "What you rejected," she said simply. "What your pack threw away. What you'll regret for the rest of your life." The mate bond burned between them, stronger now that they were close, and she saw him feel it. Saw the pain flash across his face as he recognized what he'd tried to deny. "I want my life back," she said, and it wasn't a request. "If you want to see how the Alpha's world crumbles when the pack learns the truth, keep listening." He tried to summon his authority, drawing himself up to full height, letting his Alpha presence roll over her like a physical force. It bounced off harmlessly. She smiled at his confusion. "That doesn't work on me anymore. I'm not pack. I don't answer to your dominance." "Then what do you want?" His voice was harder now, defensive. "I told you. My life back. The one you stole when you rejected me in front of your entire pack." She circled him slowly, and he turned to track her movement, suddenly uncertain. "You humiliated me. Cast me out to die. All because I didn't fit your political requirements. The pack needed an Alpha who honored his mate bond. Who understood that the moon goddess doesn't make mistakes." Her eyes flashed silver. "Instead they got you." He flinched. "I did what was necessary. You did what was easy." She stopped circling, facing him directly. "You chose your comfort over your mate. Your reputation over truth. And now you get to live with that choice." The mate bond pulsed between them, and she saw him struggling with it. The connection was stronger now, amplified by her increased power, and it was clearly causing him pain. "I can feel you," he said, almost accusingly. "Through the bond. You're so much stronger than before. What happened to you?" I found my real family. The ones who taught me what I actually am. She let more power rise, until the air crackled with energy. Did you know there were wolves before the packs? Royalty blessed directly by the moon goddess herself. His face went pale. The first wolves. That's a legend. I'm standing in front of you. Do I look like a legend? She could see him processing, understanding dawning with horrible clarity. The power radiating off her, the moonlight she controlled, the authority that made his wolf whimper and want to submit. Your royal blood, she confirmed. The last of a line your ancestors probably helped destroy. And you rejected me because I seemed human. He actually staggered. She watched him realize the magnitude of his mistake, saw it hit him like a physical blow. I didn't know, he whispered. You didn't care, she corrected. You saw weakness and disposed of it. That's what alphas do, isn't it? Eliminate anything that threatens their power. If I had known, you'd have what? Kept me. Claimed me. Paraded me as proof of your pack's superiority. Her laugh was bitter. I don't want to be kept anymore. I want justice. He straightened, some of his composure returning. What does that mean? It means I'm not leaving. I'm staying in Silvercrest territory, and you're going to tell your pack exactly what I am. What you rejected. They'll never accept. I don't need their acceptance. Her voice cut like a blade. I need them to know. To understand that their alpha threw away a moon-blessed mate because he was too blind and arrogant to see past appearances. She turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and alpha. Try to force me out again, and I'll challenge you for pack leadership. Given what I am versus what you are, we both know how that would end. She walked away, leaving him standing alone in the training ground, the mate bond burning like acid between them. She made her presence known slowly, deliberately. She took a cabin at the edge of Packlands, the same one that had been her temporary home during those 3 hopeful months. No one tried to stop her. The alpha must have spread the word that she was to be left alone. But word spread anyway. Wolves talked. They'd seen her return, sensed the power rolling off her, noticed how the alpha looked shaken after their encounter. She attended the pack assembly 3 days later, walking into the communal hall like she owned it. 300 wolves fell silent as she entered, their attention snapping to her with an almost physical force. She found a seat in the front row, directly in the alpha's line of sight, and waited. The beta tried to have her removed. She looked at him, let her eyes flash silver, and he backed away without a word. The alpha arrived last, as was his custom. He stopped when he saw her, just for a moment, before continuing to his raised platform. We have business to discuss, he began, but his voice lacked its usual confidence. She stood. So do I. The pack stirred, uncertain. No one interrupted the alpha during assembly. It was an unspoken law. Sit down, he ordered, pushing alpha command into the words. She remained standing. I have a question for the pack. A year ago, you witnessed this alpha reject his mate bond. Tell me, do you believe the moon goddess makes mistakes? Silence. Uncomfortable, weighted silence. Because that's what he told you, isn't it? That bonding with a human was wrong. Impossible. A mistake that needed correcting. She turned slowly, addressing the entire assembly. But what if it wasn't a mistake? What if he simply didn't recognize what stood in front of him? Enough, the alpha growled. What if, she continued, ignoring him, he rejected a mate of royal blood? First wolf lineage? Power that predates every pack in these territories? The reaction was immediate. Gasps, murmurs, wolves turning to stare at her with new understanding. Lies, the beta said, but his voice wavered. She let her power rise, flooding the hall with moonlight that materialized from nothing. It rolled over the assembled wolves like a tide, and every single one of them felt it ancient, undeniable, absolute. They dropped to their knees. Not from her command, but from pure instinct, their wolves recognizing what she was and responding accordingly. Only the alpha remained standing, fighting the urge to submit. Royal blood, an elderly wolf whispered, awe in his voice. Moon's daughter. It's real. She let the power fade, and the wolves slowly rose, looking at her with expressions ranging from shock to reverence to fear. Your alpha, she said quietly, rejected this. Threw it away because I hadn't shifted yet, because I seemed weak. And now you know what he cost you. The alpha's face was stone, but she could feel his emotions through the bond. Rage, shame, and beneath it, crushing regret. Assembly dismissed, he said, his voice rough. No one moved. I said dismiss. They left slowly, casting glances between her and their alpha, the power dynamics they'd always known suddenly uncertain. The challenge came from an unexpected source. The alpha's cousin, a powerful enforcer who'd always coveted the leadership position, saw opportunity in the chaos she'd created. The alpha is compromised, he announced during evening meal, his voice carrying across the dining hall. He rejected a moon-blessed mate. That shows catastrophic judgment. He's unfit to lead. She watched from her corner table, interested despite herself. The alpha faced his cousin with cold fury. You want to challenge me? The pack deserves better than an alpha who throws away blessings from the moon goddess herself. It was clever, she had to admit. Using her revelation as justification, turning the pack's shock into a political weapon. Fine, the alpha said. Tomorrow at dawn. Traditional combat. Winner takes leadership. But as his cousin smiled in triumph, the alpha's eyes found hers across the hall. And she saw it, the desperation, the silent plea for help he'd never voice aloud. She could let him fall. Let his cousin win, let the alpha lose everything as he'd made her lose everything. The mate bond twisted in her chest, painful and insistent. She stood and walked out, ignoring them both. That night, the alpha came to her cabin. She opened the door to find him standing in the rain, looking more uncertain than she'd ever seen him. I know I have no right to ask, he said. But if my cousin wins, he'll exile you. He doesn't want powerful wolves who might threaten his position. That's not my problem. Please. The word seemed to cost him everything. I was wrong. About you, about the bond, about everything. I let politics and fear control me. I rejected the greatest gift the moon goddess could give because I was blind and stupid, Anne. And you want me to help you? She laughed without humor. Why would I? Because despite everything, you're still my mate. I can feel it. The bond is stronger than ever, and I know you feel it too. He took a step closer. I can't undo what I did. But if you help me keep leadership, I'll spend the rest of my life making it right. Making it right, she repeated. You think there's a version of this where we're together? Where I forgive you and we bond and live happily ever after? No, he said quietly. I think there's a version where I prove I'm worthy of you. Even if it takes decades. Even if you never forgive me. The rain soaked them both. The mate bond burned. I'll think about it, she said, and closed the door in his face. Dawn came with steel-grey skies and a crowd of 300 wolves gathered at the ceremonial grounds. She stood at the edge, watching the alpha and his cousin circle each other in the challenge ring. They'd both shifted, two massive wolves testing for weaknesses. The cousin was good. Fast, brutal, fighting with the desperation of someone who'd wanted power his entire life. But the alpha was better. Stronger, more experienced, using technique where his cousin used raw aggression. It should have been enough. But she could feel the alpha's distraction through the bond. He was fighting while simultaneously aware of her presence, trying to impress her, to prove something. It made him sloppy. The cousin got under his guard and clamped jaws around the alpha's throat. The crowd gasped. In wolf combat, that was the kill position. The alpha had lost. She felt it through the bond, his resignation, his acceptance of defeat, and underneath it, a strange relief. As if losing everything was preferable to continuing to fail her. She moved before she consciously decided to. Power erupted from her like a shockwave, moonlight blazing in broad daylight. It slammed into both wolves, separating them, throwing the cousin across the ring. The crowd went dead silent. She walked into the challenge ring, and both wolves shifted back to human form, staring at her. This challenge is invalid, she said, her voice carrying absolute authority. It's based on false grounds. False, the cousin sputtered, climbing to his feet. He rejected you. He did, she agreed. But pack law states that a rejected mate has the right to either accept the rejection or contest it. I never accepted it. She turned to face the assembled pack. Which means the mate bond still stands. Which means I have the right to challenge for pack leadership myself, as the alpha's mate. The elderly wolf who served as pack lawkeeper nodded slowly. She's correct. The bond was rejected but never formally severed. She retains mate rights. You want to challenge for alpha? The cousin asked incredulously. No. She looked at the alpha, who was watching her with something like hope. I want to challenge the rejection itself. Pack law allows it. The alpha rejected me in public. I have the right to contest that rejection in public. And if he refuses, someone asked. Her smile was sharp. Then I challenge him for pack leadership, win by virtue of royal blood and superior power, and exile him the way he exiled me. But if he accepts the contest, if he can prove his rejection was wrong, the bond stands and his leadership is unquestioned. The alpha stared at her, understanding what she was offering. A chance to fix his mistake, to prove himself, to earn back what he'd thrown away. I accept, he said. I contest my own rejection. The trial lasted 3 days. Pack law was ancient and specific. To contest a rejection, the alpha had to prove 3 things: that the bond was genuine, that the rejection was made in error, and that he was worthy of his mate. The first was easy. The bond blazed between them, visible to every wolf who could sense such things. No one could deny its authenticity. The second required him to explain his reasoning, and she watched him stand before the pack and admit his failures. I rejected her because she appeared human, he said, his voice carrying shame. I thought the pack needed a powerful mate, someone of strong bloodline. I was wrong. I judged by appearances rather than truth. I let political concerns override a bond blessed by the moon goddess herself. He looked directly at her. I was a coward. I chose the easy path over the right one. And I've regretted it every day since. The third requirement was the hardest: proof of worthiness. How do I prove I'm worthy? He asked the lawkeeper. You don't, the old wolf said. She does. The rejected mate decides if the alpha has earned redemption. All eyes turned to her. She'd had a year to nurse her rage. A year to plan revenge, to imagine him suffering as she'd suffered. She'd become powerful enough to destroy him, to take everything he valued. The mate bond pulsed in her chest, painful and persistent. You left me to die, she said, and her voice echoed across the silent grounds. You threw me away like garbage. You looked me in the eyes and told me I was worthless. He flinched but didn't look away. I survived because I'm stronger than you knew. I became powerful because I had to. Everything I am now exists because you rejected everything I was then. She took a breath. So here's my judgment. You're not worthy. Not yet. Disappointment flashed across his face, but he nodded, accepting. But, she continued, worthiness can be earned. So I'm not accepting the rejection, and I'm not forgiving it. I'm suspending judgment. The crowd murmured, confused. You remain alpha, she said. I remain your mate, unbonded. And you get to spend however long it takes proving you understand the magnitude of what you did. Proving you've changed. Proving you're capable of being the mate a moon daughter deserves. She stepped closer to him, close enough that only he could hear. And if you ever make me regret giving you this chance, I will take your pack, your position, and your pride. And you'll spend the rest of your life knowing you failed twice. Understood, he said quietly. Thank you. Don't thank me. Earn this. She turned to the pack. Your alpha retains leadership. His judgment was flawed, but his acknowledged it. Whether he learns from it remains to be seen. She walked away, leaving him standing in the challenge ring, the mate bond still burning between them, unresolved, unfinished, and entirely under her control. The pack would whisper about this for years. The moon daughter who returned from exile. The alpha who had to earn his own mate. The rejection that became a test of worthiness rather than an ending. And somewhere in the lunar court, the elders smiled, knowing that revenge was sweetest when it came wrapped in justice. She had her life back. Her power acknowledged. Her worth proven. The alpha had his pack, his position, and a mate bond that would remind him every single day of his failure and his chance at redemption. Whether he'd succeed remained to be seen. But for the first time since that terrible day when his hand closed around her throat, she felt something close to peace. Not forgiveness. Not yet. But possibility. And that, for now, was enough. The alpha thought Exile would solve his problem. Instead, it created his greatest reckoning. If you want to hear what happens when a moon daughter decides whether an alpha truly deserves redemption, subscribe now.